Hello and welcome to Motors for the Masses, and today I want to talk about how Labour winning the election will affect motorists. So let's roll the intro and get cracking. Let's start with something that people have to pay that didn't have to pay previously, and that is electric vehicles and the congestion charge. Now, up until now, they are paying £10 a year as an exemption to the congestion charge, just £10 a year, where combustion engine vehicles pay £15 per day if they go into the congestion zone. Well, as of Christmas next year, 2025, under Labour, now all vehicles will have to pay the congestion charge of £15 per day, whether it's a combustion engine vehicle or an electric vehicle, to help reduce congestion. Now, in my previous video, I got a lot of comments, people saying, oh, there's a clue in the title, ULEZ is for emissions and congestion charge is for congestion. And my argument was that, but the underpinnings are based on keeping the emissions out of the inner London area. And this was proven by the fact that EVs only had to pay £10 per year, whereas combustion engine vehicles had to pay £15 per day. Well, that is now no longer going to be the case as of Christmas next year, as I say. So there you go. Just another reason why not to buy an electric vehicle in London now. I can hear the sound of EV sales dropping as we speak. Now, Labour have also pledged to tackle the insurance cost problems, which is well needed to take on the Competition and Markets Authority and the Financial Conduct Authority. However, I have doubts, as I'm not quite sure how they're going to do it. I don't know how they can regulate insurance costs. There's a massive array of insurance companies and brokers, and I don't know how they can regulate it, because I'm sure they'll just find other hidden costs to make up the shortfall, because now they've been used to these high insurance costs. So I don't know. Let's see if they can pull it off. However, the Labour powers that be want to reintroduce the 2030 ban on all new sales of petrol and diesel vehicles. 2030. That's 6 years. And in 6 years, they only want new electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles to be sold. I'm guessing they're going to make everything hybrid, as long as petrol and diesel engines stay around, I guess. But I think they're moving more towards a fully electric world. And by 2030, no more petrol and diesel vehicles to be sold under Labour. Now, it was 2035, but Labour are reintroducing, apparently, the 2030 law. Well, firstly, they're going to have to spend a shed load of money getting some sort of workable infrastructure in place. How are they going to do this? I don't know how. The infrastructure at the moment is minimal in comparison to how many petrol and diesel stations there are around, unless they convert all those stations. But even that, the cost is going to be phenomenal for the oil companies. I mean, electric prices, I'm sure, will go up to compensate for that. I don't know how they're going to do it. I really don't. The infrastructure isn't there. The cost of recharging your vehicles, the amount of time to recharge your vehicles isn't there. The cost of the batteries isn't there. The cost of the vehicle in the first place isn't there. And when I say isn't there, I mean it isn't in the right place. It's just way too much. And I don't know how they're going to do it, unless they just want to try and ban cars altogether. Surely not. That can't be their reasoning, surely. And I'm sure they won't be reintroducing ULEZ zones in all major cities and 20-mile-an-hour limits everywhere either. They won't be doing that, no. And 15-minute cities, then no, surely that won't be happening either. However, think yourself lucky that the Green Party didn't get in, because they wanted to ban all sales of petrol and diesel vehicles by 2027, just 3 years' time. How is that ever going to work? And they wanted a complete ban of all petrol and diesel vehicles on our roads by 2035. Yeah, okay. How are you going to manage that one then? It's just a shame that reform didn't get in a more fair system way, shall we say. This first past the post thing just doesn't work for me, because 14% of the vote share from reform didn't equal the amount of seats they represented in Parliament. But, you know, that's for a different discussion. However, if reform would have got in, they wanted to scrap the ULEZ charge, because that isn't just about scamming motorists out of money. No, it really isn't. No, it's to do with the environment. Reform also pledged to scrap the 2035 ICE vehicle ban. When I say ICE, I mean internal combustion engine, if you're not sure. And they wanted to reduce fuel by 20p per litre and scrap any plans for any new clean air zones. But there you go. The motorist didn't get reform. The motorist got the motoring hating Labour. But they didn't get the more motorist hating Green Party, or the still motorist hating Conservative Party. So I really don't know how this 2030 ban is going to stand up. The charging capabilities are not in place. The cost is too much. Like I said before, the charging ability infrastructure just isn't there, and all I can see it do is boost up the prices of internal combustion engine vehicles, used vehicles. I think the prices will just go through the roof. Perhaps I should keep hold of all the vehicles I have and not try and sell them. Might be worth a lot more money in 6 years' time. What do you reckon? Now, the next one involves young drivers. Now, Labour's been discussing for the past 5 years or more about making driving regulations different for younger, newer drivers. And we're talking about the tests they did between June 2022 and June 2023 and the accidents that 17 to 29-year-olds were involved in. And they've come up with a solution to make these drivers safer. I used safer in inverted commas, because again, it's nothing to do with keeping motorists off the road, really. And this is by way of a graduated driving licence. Yes, a graduated driving licence. And what does that mean? Well, that will have a few things involved, and I'm going to read this to make sure I don't get it wrong. Now, this will be for the first 6 months after passing their test. They want to limit the engine and brake horsepower allowed. Well, that's fair enough. I can see that being okay. You know, you get 17, 18-year-olds still haven't quite matured yet, although I'm 50 and I still quite haven't matured yet is when I get behind a wheel. No, I'm perfectly safe and legal, and everything I do is exactly as it should be. Nothing is out of place or out of line whatsoever. So anyway, back to the youth and their awful driving habits. Well, what they want to do is they want to limit the engine, as I say, and brake horsepower allowed. So they haven't said what that is yet. Maybe 90 horsepower on a 1.2 litre engine. I'm guessing something around that line, which you can get 1.2 litre bi-turbo cars with 90 brake horsepower, but with quite a lot of torque. So I don't think they've looked too far into that, but we'll see. I mean, we are talking about the government here, and they do know exactly what they're talking about when it comes to making policies. They also want to lower speed limits for them, which to me, all it's going to do is piss off everyone else on the road. Because if you're, say, 35 and you've been driving for 10 years or so, and you're driving a car at 60 miles an hour on an empty 60 mile an hour road, however, you come up behind Johnny Newbie in his P-plated vehicle, and he's only allowed to do, what, 50 probably. So Mr. 60 on a clear road is going to be sitting behind him at 50 going, why are we doing this? It's not necessary. I want to get past him, want to get past. Do you see what I mean? I think the only ones that won't be pissed off are the usual Sunday big-eared drivers that do 40, whatever the speed limit. 40 and a 30, 40 and a 40, 40 and a 50, 40 and a 60. Those ones. I mean, you know who you are. Well, you're probably not watching this if you are one of those. They also want to lower the alcohol limits allowed. Well, that, fair enough, yeah, I can see that one. I don't drink anyway, so I opened a bottle of wine at Christmas and I've still got 3/4 of that bottle left. Just don't drink it. They also want to introduce curfews at night. So no nighttime loutery, with the exception of work, medical issues or emergencies. I can imagine the amount of night work and medical emergencies that'll be cropping up in the future will be phenomenal amongst the 17 to 29-year-olds who've just passed their test within the last 6 months. And they want to make them have P plates on for 2 years. P plates for 2 years. You know, when you see a P plate and you think, yeah, well, I guess the only way you can tell how long they passed their test is by how much the sun, the sun, has faded the P, where they've just got a white square now with a slight hint of a green P in there. I don't know, but yeah, let me know what you think on this, whether this will work or whether this will just cause more issues. I mean, they already have the system where you're only allowed to get 6 points within the first, I think, is it 2 years of having your license? So if you get more than 6 points, you can lose your license in the first 2 years before you get up to the 12-point allowance. I'm sure that's what it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that's what it is. I mean, I passed my test in 1990, so I've been driving quite a while. So I didn't have any of this nonsense. No P plates, no limitations on what I could drive. It's just whatever I could afford on the insurance. Which is why my first car when I was 17 was a 1.6 litre Ford Capri. Now we have another new system that's been introduced on the 6th of July, and this is to propose speed limiters on all new vehicles being sold. Yes, speed limiters. Now this I can understand sort of in a way, simply because the speed limit's 70 miles an hour on a dual carriageway. That's the maximum you can go. So why does a car need to go more than 70 miles an hour? You've got cars, they're encouraging people, all cars are limited to 155. Okay, not in the UK, because you can go on the German Autobahn and do 155 in certain times. But in the UK, you can't do more than 70 ever on a dual carriageway, and you can't do more than 60 ever in a national speed limit. So why? I mean, I guess to say they don't limit only UK vehicles because they cater for the whole of Europe. But then we've got right-hand drive in the UK, so why can't they limit right-hand drive vehicles? And it kind of makes sense, but I know I'm going against my petrol-headedness here, because, however, I never speed. I never do more than 70. I mean, that's why I've got a 5-litre V8 Mustang, so I don't have to go more than 70. Anyway, these systems will be known as ISA, Intelligent Speed Assistance. Yes, Intelligent Speed Assistance. They will monitor how your vehicle is progressing. So slowly. So if you're creeping over the speed limit, it will automatically adjust your speed to keep you within the speed limit of that road. I'm guessing mixed in with the collision awareness programs and the lane change things and everything else, and the automatic steering. So what's the point of you sitting in the driver's seat? They just want to turn us all into robots. Now, they are talking about the possibility of bypassing this. There has been mention of it, and I'm sure they'll find some kind of fail-safe. But the idea is that it's done, or it's limited through your ECU, because, as I say, they can't do it for all cars. Say that you have I don't know, I want to say Ford Granada. Why do I want to say Ford Granada? If only there was a Ford Granada. Let's say a Ford Mondeo. They want a Ford Mondeo that want to limit to 70 miles an hour, so it can't go past 70 miles an hour. They can't do it for all Mondeos sold all over Europe or the world. So to do it for just one country, they would have to use an ECU limiter. However, I'm sure there'll be lots of companies out there that really won't find some kind of way of plugging into your OBD reader and disengaging that limiter. However, the downside of that is probably going to be something like, if you do, it will void your warranty. If you do, it will mean your insurance will be invalid. If you do, it means the Rozzers will turn up at your door with a van and cart you off for the rest of your life. So their plan is to make us all robots and take away any chance of us having the ability to control our own vehicles in the name of reducing vehicle crashes. Which of course is a good thing, but also would have a severe effect on our mental health. Has anyone ever thought of that? Because by doing so, you'll be deleting any driving enjoyment whatsoever. Have you ever seen Demolition Man? You've seen the vehicles in that. I tell you, that future isn't too far away by the sounds of it. Although according to Demolition Man, it's actually 24 years too late. So once EVs are flooding our roads, making them all very dull, drab, dreary places to be, the government will have to think up other schemes to get money out of motorists. So what they'll do is turn to us all as all newly founded, tree-hugging, eco-friendly EV drivers, and that's when they'll strike with a pay-per-mile system. Watch this space. Because apparently, once they've realised that they've lost £25 billion, and yes, that's how much apparently they're projected to lose, £25 billion from fuel duty, they're going to have to make up that shortfall somehow, aren't they? So will the price of EVs drop? I very much doubt it, because that will be the only option. If you want to stay on the road, EV will probably be the only way to go. And then they've got you, because they can charge you what they like. Because if you want to be on the road, you'll pay for it. Unless, of course, you want to be forced onto a bus. Or train. And then we'll just be one step away from being ferried around in boring, silent robots. With no ability to control it. You just sit there as a passenger, like in AI. And you don't have the ability to drive, and if you do drive, you'll be seen as an outlaw, probably. Because you'll just have to sit there in your silent bubble and be drifted along the road without any ability to control it or enjoy it yourself. And you'll pay handsomely for it too, I should imagine. So, let's look forward to what Labour can bring to us, because it's looking bleak, isn't it, for the motorist? Now, when it comes to motorbikes, I don't know. I've got a feeling they're going to be bringing in emissions for motorbikes. They've already got these noise cameras everywhere, so nobody can upgrade anything, because anything more than standard will just be seen as outlawish and as though you want to ruin the planet and kill all the trees in the world, and then you will be seen as a heinous crime person. I don't know. Never mind, as long as we have tea, everything will be all right. And that is all I've got for this episode. So thank you very much for joining me. I'll be back very soon with something else. So until next time, please ride and drive carefully whilst you can. But have fun. Bye-bye.